ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Knox. I'm the chairman of the Hall of Fame. And I'm very pleased to have you all here today celebrating with our inductees the induction into the 2013 edition of the Hall of Fame. We especially like to acknowledge all of our inductees, their families and special guests. Some of the people with us today are members of the Canadian Soccer Association Board of Directors, Don Story and Charlie Gazzetto. Past President of the Ontario Soccer Association and Chairman Emeritus of the Hall of Fame, the founder of the Hall of Fame, Mr. Bill Hoyle. And we have former inductees, Colin Jost, our historian, Les Wilson, Bobby Iarussi, Mike Sweeney, and Jerry Gray. Welcome to you all. There's also a group of people here with us today who have worked very hard to make all this possible. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you those members of the Board of Governors of the Soccer Hall of Fame who are with us today. Some unfortunately couldn't make it this morning, but will be here this evening. But I'd like to start with Colin Jost, our historian. Colin. Then we have Ken McLean. Thank you. Ken McLean from Nova Scotia. John Vanderkolk. Again, Bobby Iarussi. Bobby. The President of the Ontario Soccer Association, Ron Smale. Ron. And Kim Watson from also from the board. Kim is our #1 administrator, someone we couldn't do without. We also have another special group of people with us today. You saw them downstairs. These are the players from two of the clubs, I beg your pardon, in the vicinity. And a lot of the inductees with us today have left a legacy for this younger generation. And what's an opportunity for these players today to meet this distinguished group. I was supposed to introduce them, but they're not here, so I can't introduce them. But the young boys and girls that you saw downstairs were the under-13 girls team from the Woodbridge Soccer Club and the under-13 boys team from Vaughan Soccer Club. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you this year's Soccer Hall of Fame inductees. To be inducted into the Soccer Hall of Fame is one of soccer's highest honours in Canada. And today's inductees join a very distinguished list of Hall of Famers. It's with great pleasure and honour that I introduce to you, starting off with our 7th pioneer inducted into the Soccer Hall of Fame. The Pioneer Award is intended to recognise a contributor to the sport throughout history. This award will honour pioneers in the sport in Canada, recognising their efforts to see soccer elevated to new levels and standards, participation and public interest. This year's inductees in the Pioneer category are the Castonguay brothers. Roland, Paul Emile and Marcel Castonguay were among the finest players of their era, not only in Quebec but across Canada. Roland won the national championship playing on the wing for Verdun Park in 1934 and went on to star with his brothers Paul Emile and Marcel, making up the forward line in the 1939 Cup final. Well, that's a long time ago. Later that year, Paul Emile was offered a trial with Glasgow Celtic, but the war intervened. Marcel and Paul Emile played together in the 1948 National Cup final, in which Castile beat Vancouver St Andrews to capture the championship. Roland was voted one of the players of the half-century by the Canadian press in 1950. Please welcome Jonathan Castonguay, the grandson and great-nephew who is representing the Castonguay brothers. We're now going to introduce our three builders, followed by our three players being inducted in 2013. Our first builder is Alex Highland. Alex began his involvement with soccer in Montreal, where he was appointed secretary to the Quebec Minor Soccer Association, and continued as a member of the promotions committee from 1964 to 1973. He was a founding member of the Canadian Soccer Association in 1969, established at a meeting held in Toronto on June 1st. The CMSA was formed for the purpose of fostering and developing the game of minor soccer in Canada. He later served as president of the association. Following more than 20 years in Quebec, he moved to British Columbia, where from 1977 to 1988 he became a member of the executive of the Canadian Soccer Association, responsible for technical programs. Representing Alex here today is his daughter, Maggie Flynn. Maggie is a good start. Our next builder, who speaks with a funny accent too, is Bill Gillespie. Bill has been involved in soccer at the provincial, national and international levels for over 40 years. He served as president of the Alberta Soccer Association from 1980 to 84. He then became a member of the Canadian Soccer Association Executive, where he remained until 1997. While at the Canadian Soccer Association, he represented Canada as head of delegation in many countries in international soccer competitions. Bill also served as chairman of the National Teams Committee and was a member of the Player Status Commission for CONCACAF. He was inducted into the Edmonton Sports Hall of Fame in 2002 and the Alberta Sports Hall of Fame in 2004. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bill. Our last builder in this category is Kevin Muldoon. No individual or professional staff member in Canadian soccer history has been involved with as many Canadian men's and women's national teams spanning 4 decades as Kevin Muldoon. Kevin's career highlights include his involvement in the men's team at the quarterfinals of the 1984 Olympic Games in Los Angeles and the 1986 FIFA Men's World Cup in Mexico and the 1999 Women's World Cup in the United States. For 26 years, Kevin was employed by the CSA in the capacities of national teams equipment manager, national teams goalkeeping coach, and on many occasions working as the team's administrator with the younger Canadian national teams on both the male and female side. Kevin, will you please come forward?
Funny about.
Yeah, we use it as a different kind of funny. And now we'll move on to the 2013 player inductees. Our first inductee is Janine Beckie. Janine played 47 times for Canada and was a member of the Women's World Cup team in 1995 and 1999. In 1995 in Sweden, she played in the centre of defence against England, Nigeria and Norway, and in 1999 in the United States against Japan, Norway and Russia. She played at the University of Alberta for the Pandas from 1990 to 94 and was a member of the Edmonton Angels team that won the Centennial Shield in 1995 and 99. She also won a silver medal in 2 CONCACAF championships and was a 2-time runner-up as Women's Player of the Year. After her retirement, she coached and led the Edmonton Aviators in the W League for 1 season. Janine, would you please come forward? Our next inductee in the players category is Paul Pescasolido. Paul came to prominence during the FIFA Under-16 World Tournament in 1987 and went on to play 53 times for Canada. He was a member of Canada's CONCACAF Gold Cup winning team in 2000, and he began his professional career in the old Canadian Soccer League with the Toronto Blizzard in 1989. When the league folded in 92, Paul had a trial with English First Division club Birmingham City and was quickly signed. During the 1992-93 season, he played in 19 games and scored 7 goals. And the following season, he scored 9 goals in 24 games. During his English pro career, he played for Stoke City, West Bromwich Albion, Fulham, Queen's Park Rangers, Sheffield United, Norwich City, Derby County and Luton Town. Altogether, he played 447 games in English football leagues and scored 118 goals. Paul, would you please come up to me? And last, but certainly not least, a man that a lot of us have looked up to, and I mean looked up to, Jason DeVos. Jason played 49 times for Canada and captained the team that won the CONCACAF Gold Cup in 2000. He began his professional career in the old Canadian Soccer League with the London Lasers in 1990. When the league folded in 1992, he moved to Montreal to play for the Impact in the American Professional Soccer League, appearing in 55 games before crossing the Atlantic to play for Darlington, then joining the D United of the Scottish League. His next stop was Wigan Athletic, where he captained the team to the nationwide Second Division Championship in the 2002-03 season. In total, Jason played a total of 398 games, scored 32 goals in the English leagues, before retiring with Ipswich Town at the end of the 2007-2008 season. Jason, would you please come up? Ladies and gentlemen, these are your 2013 Hall of Fame inductees. Now this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce this year's Organisation of Distinction. This category in the Soccer Hall of Fame Museum was introduced 3 years ago and recognises organisations that have excelled over many years. The fourth organisation to be recognised in this category is the Vancouver Columbus Football Club. Vancouver Columbus FC is being represented by Joe Cuzzetto. Vancouver Columbus FC is one of the most successful men's amateur clubs in Canada, having appeared in a record 6 national finals and won the Canadian Championship 4 times. Columbus FC won the national championship in 1964, 1969, 1977 and 1978, and were finalists in 1968 and 2007. They have also won the Provincial Cup, the Championship of British Columbia 6 times, and won the Pacific Coast League Championship a remarkable 7 times. Since being formed 58 years ago, Columbus FC has produced more Canadian national team players than any other amateur club in Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, Vancouver Columbus. All of the team players, please come forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's a tremendous show that all of these players have come to the Hall of Fame this weekend. Thank you, gentlemen. Our team of distinction to be inducted this year is the 1984 Canadian Men's Olympic team, represented here this afternoon by team staff Les Wilson. In 1984, the men's national team qualified for the Olympic Games for the first time in our history. The final rounds of Olympic competition were staged in 4 different venues across the United States and Canada was drawn in a difficult group that included Iraq, Yugoslavia and Cameroon. Canada was faced with the difficult task of beating Cameroon to qualify for the quarterfinals. Cameroon were perhaps the finest and most skillful African team of that era, but Canada, on 2 goals from Dale Mitchell and 1 from Igor Vrablich, recorded one of its finest victories to win 3-1 before 27,621 fans. Canada was matched up against Brazil in the quarterfinals, with the game ending in a shootout, resulting in an impressive 5th place finish for the Canadian squad. Some members of the team are with us today. Team staff Les Wilson and Kevin Muldoon. Gentlemen, Ed Johnson.
John, do you mind if it's the players and the
No,
staff?
I'm going to. And we have players today, some of the greatest players that have played for Canada as far as I'm concerned. Jerry Gray. Mike Sweeney. Ken Garraway. Mark Rizzardo. And Craig Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, the Canadian Men's Olympic Team of 1984, this year's team of distinction. Thank you, gentlemen.
I still get that joke. What joke? What joke?
I see you haven't changed, Kevin. There's another award that was introduced 3 years ago. This award is intended to recognize those who have excelled both in soccer and in another endeavour, but who might not otherwise qualify for induction into the Soccer Hall of Fame. This award has been appropriately and affectionately named the Brian Budd Award. The late Brian Budd embodies this award through his accomplishments in soccer and beyond. Brian became the most internationally recognised Canadian soccer player through his participation in the various superstar competitions between 1978 and 1980. Those of you who remember that will remember that Brian blew the whole rest of North America away. He was a tremendous competitor. Brian's playing career includes winning a CIAU gold medal for the UBC Thunderbirds and playing 7 seasons in the NASL with the Vancouver Whitecaps, Colorado Caribou and Toronto Metros Croatia. He also played at the international level for Canada 7 times, scoring twice in World Cup qualification matches. Brian became a well-known broadcaster, starting as a colour commentator for the Toronto Blizzard in 1982, and most recently on the Score Network's Footy Show from 2004 to 2009. The recipient this year of the Brian Budd Award is Dr. Carl Shearer. Carl Shearer's story in soccer begins as a youth player in his native British Columbia, playing for Dunbar Stongs. With the team from 1970 to 78, he won a remarkable 6 provincial championships and 1 national championship. Dr. Shearer also had success at the provincial level and finally received national recognition when he was selected as a member of Canada's men's Olympic team in 1979. Shearer's professional career in soccer began and concluded with the Vancouver Whitecaps of the North American Soccer League. In 1979, Shearer's Whitecaps won the Western Division Championship, the National Conference Championship, and finally the NASL Soccer Bowl Championship that was played in Giant Stadium in New York in front of over 60,000 fans. After his playing days, Carl Shearer went to medical school. His passion for athletics led him to specialise in sports medicine, where he actively practices as a consulting sport and exercise medicine physician. From 1991 to 2010, Dr. Shearer was also a team physician for the Canadian Soccer Association. He was on the local organising committee as a medical officer for the FIFA U20 Women's World Cup and for the FIFA U20 World Cup. Dr. Shearer has also been on the Canadian Soccer Association's Medicine Committee for 9 years. Dr. Carl Shearer was an excellent soccer player and is a renowned consulting sport and exercise medicine physician. Congratulations to Carl. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Carl Shearer. That brings us to a close of this official part of the induction reception. We would like to thank you all for coming out today. Enjoy yourselves this evening at the induction banquet, which is at the Intercontinental on Front Street. I'm sure we'll have an excellent evening there. Enjoy yourself this evening, and please help yourself before you leave to lunch and refreshments next door in the restaurant. And again, a special congratulations to all of the inductees. Perhaps one other person who I see has just come in, a member of the board is Lisa Beattie from the Ontario Soccer Association, also a member of the board. Ladies and gentlemen, inductees, thank you for being here. Enjoy your lunch, and we'll look forward to meeting with you again this evening. Thank you.